What's up, everybody? Welcome to another week of the Bible Boys. We are back.
We're back after a long hiatus. This is season five,
I think it is.
Season 5, episode 1. And
right.
yeah, it has been a bit of a break.
It just keeps coming.
That's it.
Why stop something good?
Now, the Bible's a long book.
It's a long book, 66 books.
There's a lot of content there.
That's right. 39 in the old, 27 in the new.
That's right.
It just keeps rolling. So we need to have at least 66 seasons.
Yes. I think that makes sense. But because we've been away from a long time, there's a lot to catch up on.
That's right.
Now, you've had this crazy youth camp over the past week. Tell us about that. What's been going on?
That's right. So watchers of the YouTube version of the podcast will notice that I'm losing a bit of weight up here because I'm bald right now.
Yes.
So what happened was, yes, we had awesome youth camp, 151 youth, 41 leaders, 6 camp parents, 2 honorary guests. It was a riot and a partridge in a pear tree.
One cross. 4 given.
4.
1 cross, 3 nails. 4 given.
That's right. That's it.
Oh, I love it. Love the data breakdown.
That's right. That's right.
But so how did it come about that your head got shaved?
Yeah, so Saturday night, so it's Thursday to Sunday. Saturday night is dress up, and so we had all these themes for different year gender groups. So for example, year 10 boys and girls had, Star Wars and Scooby-Doo, for example. Year 11 had, actually I don't remember all of them, but year 12 had Avatar: The Last Airbender.
Ah, yes.
And so I was thinking, you know what, I'll shave my head, I'll get a blue highlighter, I'll go as Aang from Avatar: The Last Airbender. And so I asked the leaders, because I've never shaved my head before in terms of doing it myself, so I don't know how to cut my hair. I said, leaders, would anyone be keen to shave my head? And I had 2 people immediately say, we'll volunteer as tribute, we'll do it.
Yeah.
And then I thought...
Angus, sure. Yeah.
Angus, yes, that's right. Yeah, good on you. Yeah, Angus said it. So, and so we went ahead with it. And instead of doing it before camp, I said, well, you know what? A lot of what we do at Awesome is memory forming. Wouldn't it be funny if it was just on stage with no introduction? So we got up on Friday morning session, and Luke, one of the other leaders, started doing announcements. Yeah. And Angus just started shaving my head.
Nice.
And Luke goes, all right, I need everyone to pay attention right now. If you're not paying attention, whatever else is going on the stage is going to stop right now.
Yeah, no.
So, people's attention wrapped. Anyway, so yeah.
Well, that's a classic memory right there.
That's right. That's right.
That's one of the highlights that will stick in people's minds for a long time.
That's it. And then on Saturday night, I was so tired that I didn't bother doing anything. Dress up. Yeah. But it was really great seeing all the youth there. We had a lot of fun. Yeah. Huge highlight of the camp was that on Friday night, it was our second night, there was a particular call to respond to the gospel in faith.
Nice.
And so Hebrews 9, 27 to 28 was being preached for juniors and seniors. We came back together. We said, look, in this final song, if you responded in faith, if you wanted to renew your faith, if you wanted to pray with a leader, come to the back. We'll have a representative from each of your year and gender groups there. And in God's kindness, during that last song, we saw 9 youth.
Oh, wow. That's
How
awesome.
great is that?
That's so good.
Yeah, so encouraging.
That's what it's all about, isn't it?
That is what it's all about.
Seeing people put their trust in Jesus and far out. That's amazing.
That's right. 151, Pip, the number of first generation Pokemon.
Really?
Yes.
Oh my goodness.
Did you know that?
That's less exciting than 151, youth.
That's right. I agree.
Bible,
but fun facts. And we love sharing fun facts about the Bible as well. I mean, I want to ask how you're going. Yes. But should we get to the Bible first, or should I ask how you're going?
You know what? The listeners, they love us. We know that. But they love the Bible even more.
That's right.
So how about we get into the Bible?
Let's get into the Bible.
And then maybe at the end we'll fluff around a bit more.
That's it. Well, listeners, let's get to it. Pip, I want to know what you've been reading in the Bible lately.
So past 3 weeks, so Easter Sunday and the following 2, I had the opportunity to preach at Penrith.
This was the 1 Corinthians 15 series.
1 Corinthians 15. So thinking about the resurrection in particular.
Yes.
So week 1 was kind of the gospel outline. So it's the first kind of chunk of 1 Corinthians 15. This is the gospel that I passed on to you as a first importance. Christ died for sin according to the scriptures. He was buried. On the 3rd day, he rose according to the scriptures. And then he appeared to many, many people. He appeared to hundreds of people. The second,
more than 500.
That's right, more than 500
verse
times.
6 says.
Which is interesting because you're like, when in the Gospels did that happen? But, you know, he was, Acts chapter 1 says that he was around for 40 days.
That's right. Lots of things might have happened.
That's right.
Or did happen, yes.
Yes, that's right. The second kind of chunk, and it's kind of outlined in every kind of Bible, the second chunk is, answers the question, someone will come and say, what if there is no resurrection of the dead? There is no resurrection of the dead. And Paul kind of answers that and says, no, Christ has indeed been raised.
Yes.
I've seen Jesus. He was one of the witnesses. But he kind of paints this picture of life being incredibly futile and meaningless if there is no life after death, if there is no resurrection. And then off the back of that, week 3, so last Sunday, a couple of days ago, was that last chunk. And the question comes, what will the resurrection be like? How will we be raised? With what kind of body will we be raised?
Yes.
And Paul goes on to talk about, some of the detail around what we as Christians should expect in the resurrection. And I kind of boiled it down. He kind of goes through some elements. I boiled it down to 5 things. Our bodies will be different in that they won't be able to perish. They'll be eternal, imperishable. They won't be able. They'll be different. They'll be like Jesus' body, so they'll follow in his pattern rather than the earthly Adam. Thirdly, they'll be fit for Jesus' kingdom, his eternal kingdom. Fourthly, they'll be given to us on Jesus' return at the last trumpet. And fifthly, all of it will be a resounding victory over death.
Nice. I like that.
Yeah, and so I want to focus just to share at the end of chapter 15. I want to read from verse 54 to the end.
Yeah, nice.
So it says, "When the perishable puts on the imperishable, and the mortal puts on the immortality, then shall come to pass the saying that is written, death is swallowed up in victory. O death, where is your victory? O death, where is your sting? The sting of death is sin, and the power of sin is the law. But thanks be to God, who gives us the victory through our Lord Jesus Christ. Therefore, my brothers and sisters, be steadfast, immovable, always abounding in the work of the Lord, knowing that in the Lord your labour is not in vain." Now, just 2 things I want to highlight. Interesting in verse 56 how it says the sting of death is sin.
Yes.
Instead of, like we might expect it to say, the sting of sin is death. Like the consequence, the wages, the end result of sin is death. We know that from the Bible that's true, but here it says the sting of death is sin. And I take it like when everyone dies and is resurrected at the resurrection, there will be, like, some people will be able to sing the victory song, death is swallowed up in victory, but others will feel this sting of realizing it, dawning on them, my sin is still on me. I haven't trusted Jesus. Jesus is the Lord. I haven't put my sin onto Jesus. And so the sting of death will be this knowledge for a lot of people, my sin is still on me, and that makes me not right with God. And so it will be a day of judgment for some. The power of sin is the law. So it's like, when sin stands up against God's holy law, God's holiness, it's shown to be the evil that it is. And so, there's that, I guess, that dichotomy there of like that, you sing the victory song or you feel the sting of death, sin. Another thing that's interesting is you read like such a glorious passage about the future hope, about the resurrection and the eternal life to come, the kingdom. It's so full of just, almost beyond imagination, awesomeness, glory. And so as a Christian, you read that and you sometimes you can be underwhelmed at your own reaction. You're like, why don't I get, like, shouldn't I be dancing around? Shouldn't I be celebrating more? Shouldn't I just be more on fire for this sort of thing? But it's interesting, Paul's application that he says in verse 58 is stand firm.
Yes.
Not dance around.
No.
Stand firm. Be steadfast. Always be immovable. Let nothing move you. And so for Christians, often when we think about the future, yeah, it is a right response to celebrate, but also it's a right response to actually to stand firm in your faith in the gospel, because we still live in this world, we still live in the midst of pain and suffering, and we live in the midst of things not being quite right yet. And so, we ought to stand firm and let nothing move us, knowing that any effort that we, exude in the work of the Lord is not in vain.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they're just some reflections from the end of 1 Corinthians 15.
Nice. No, thank you. Thanks for sharing. How did you find the experience of preparing the 3-part sermon series?
Yeah, it was good. I was thankful for the opportunity. I don't know, I've just been thinking about different ways of preaching, different ways of approaching a passage, and different insights to pull out as you explain a passage, different ways of applying a passage. Like, I listened to a few different preachers in the lead up, and I just noticed, like, different preachers, all of whom are really good, just preach so differently. So I listened to like Tim Keller, listened to Philip Jensen, listened to like Andrew Hurd, listened to even reading some more academic things, but just the variety of ways to approach a passage is interesting. There's a commonality in it all.
Yeah, same message.
Yeah. Same key kind of explanation, teaching points, but in the way that it's applied or even explained, illustrations and tone and stuff like that, very different.
Yeah, there you go.
That's very interesting.
I have an alternative way of thinking about verse 56.
Okay, yes, nice.
All right, so this might be a bit out there.
Yes.
But I think I could justify it from the rest of the passage.
Okay.
So verse 56 says, the sting of death is sin.
Yes.
Right? And we might think sting as in like what hurts.
Yes.
So it would make sense then under that to be like, well, actually the sting of sin is death, because sin brings with it the pain of death.
Yep.
But what if sting is actually like the spike of
the stinger.
the stinger of an insect?
Yes.
Right? So if you think about a bee, okay, the bee's sting is the thing that gets into you.
Yeah.
Right? So how does death get into us? The sting is sin.
Yeah, okay.
Now, I know that might be a bit abstract.
No. Yeah.
Because I feel like part of, and this is just part of, like last year we did some work in 1 Corinthians 15.
Yes. Yeah.
I think part of what was going on in verses 35 to 58 is we think our greatest problem is death. But actually our greatest problem is sin. And the fact that sin brings us death, sin excludes us from the kingdom of God. Sin means that we are not fit for Jesus's kingdom. Sin means, well, put it this way, if we had a perfect, imperishable body, but the practice of sin was not dealt with, that would be a nightmare.
Yes.
We would be able to sin forever, or at least our actions wouldn't match this eternal resurrection body that we have.
Yeah.
So really the problem ultimately is sin and the practice of sin that needs to be dealt with in addition to the body. That is, and there's a close connection between that. So I wonder if that also helps us think about why he's bringing up sin and the law then, because part of the ultimate transformation isn't just that we will have, an imperishable body, but that we shall also be like Jesus in character. Thus, you have like verse 49, where he says, just as we have borne the image of the earthly man, so shall we bear the image of the heavenly man. He's got places like Colossians 1 where it talks about Jesus, who is the image of the invisible God. And you talking about like, we have in Ephesians 4, we have the old man, which is put away, and the new man, which is put on, that which is created in the image or the likeness of the one true living God. This idea of bearing the image comes with it the pattern of life as well, actually exuding the love and righteousness and holiness of God, which then makes sense of verse 58. Because if our ultimate if we know that where we're headed isn't just an imperishable body, but righteous works, it makes, and righteous living because sin will be dealt away with.
Yeah, yes.
Then verse 58 makes sense as well. My dear brothers and sisters, stand firm. Always give yourselves fully to the work of the Lord.
Yes.
This is actually where we're headed. This idea of our hands and our works not being evil, but doing good. There you go. So there's a lot of stuff.
Okay. I appreciate that take. I do appreciate it. I would still say, I mean, like just in the chronology of things,
Yes.
everyone dies, and then there's a resurrection.
Yes.
And it's at the resurrection, where people already have, gone through death and risen up. That they're like, okay, there's something about the experience that we just had of dying that it's lost its sting. It could have been a lot worse than it is.
Yeah.
If sin hadn't been dealt with by Jesus dying on the cross. So I guess you could, with that word sting, you could either take it as the object that stings, or the sting, the pain, the end result itself.
Yeah. Could be.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure. For sure. So it's just, like I said, an alternative way of thinking about it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. But either way, there's a clear sense here, not even sense, a wonderful, glorious truth that there is a victory coming that will be, in one sense, is already here because of what Jesus has secured in his death and resurrection.
Yeah.
But when it comes to thinking about death and suffering, we know that it has an expiry date.
Yes.
It will not last forever.
Yeah. And it's interesting as well, like, you think, what is this work of the Lord? Like,
Yeah.
you describe his works, some people would say it's the gospel work of, preaching the forgiveness of sin and, frontline kind of gospel work. It's interesting that it says, in light of the resurrection, that your labor in the Lord is never in vain. The very next sentence. Now, concerning the collection.
Yeah, chapter 16, verse 1.
Concerning the money
Yes.
that I was going to collect.
Yes.
It's interesting that he goes from your work in the Lord is never in vain, and hey, about the money that you said you were going to gather together for the churches in Macedonia, for the church in Jerusalem.
Yeah, Jerusalem, verse 3. Yeah.
Yeah. So I would say that, financial support and, working so that you can give financial support is also part of that.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, that's right.
That's a hot take.
And I don't think that hot of a take, but I know people would disagree with you.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
Well, it's interesting, 16 verse 10, where he goes, when Timothy comes, see to it that he has nothing to fear while he is with you, for he is carrying on the work of the Lord just as I am.
Yeah.
So there's another use of the phrase work of the Lord.
Yeah.
And so is it just the actual proclamation of the gospel, or is it work that advances the cause of the gospel?
Yeah. I mean, he's writing to a whole church,
Yes.
so he's not expecting all of them to be itinerant preachers or even, teachers of God's word.
Yeah.
In a formal sense. This is an application that's broad enough for every person in the Corinthian church.
Yeah.
Just one more interesting little thing.
Yeah,
from
go
1 Corinthians 15.
for it.
And now so back to verse 47.
Yes.
The first man was from the earth, a man of dust. The second man is of heaven. As was the man of dust, so also are those who are of dust. And as is the man of heaven, so also are those who are of heaven. Now, I wrestled with this. I really struggled with this. Adam got his flesh first, and then God breathed his spirit into him. Jesus was first and foremost, first spirit, and he took on flesh. Now, I don't know what the implication is for our resurrection body, but is it possible that at the resurrection we will be spirit taking on flesh?
We will be spirit taking on flesh.
Yes. In that it's not as though our bodies as they are now will be rebuilt. It's not as though people who are cremated or lost at sea or buried in the ground and turned to dust, that those molecules will come back together somehow and form something resembling what you are now. no, your spirit will take on new flesh. You'll be clothed with immortality. When the perishable puts on the imperishable. Do you know what I mean?
Now, that's really interesting. Yeah, an interesting take. Scientifically, our bodies, I don't remember how long it is, but there is a particular period of time where let's just say 7 years, because that number comes to mind, but every 7 years, all of the atoms in your body are cycled.
Right.
So, but you go, wait a second, but my hair color might be the same, my skin, I don't feel like it's all new, but actually, yes, because what happens is that your body's atomic arrangement will age naturally with time and change, but the specific atoms that are there will move in or out. Again, I don't know what the correct term for this is, and I'm probably butchering what the actual observation is, but the reason I remember this is because I was in second year uni, we were doing a particular subject in metaphysics on personal identity, and part of one of the theories in personal identity is that what it means for you to be you is the composition of your body, the way in which the cells are there, the way in which your tissue is there, the way in which your neurons are firing. But then a retort against that is, that the atoms in your body don't all stay the same, right? And we get that, for example, in terms of liquids and foods and whatnot, hair falling off. But every so-and-so years, there is almost every atom in your body has changed, even though the arrangement of them is the same.
Yeah.
So that just gets me thinking here.
I mean, it's hard because like, there is a sense in which we do tie our identity to our physical makeup. Like if I lose an arm, you're like, okay, you are still Pip. It's not like you're still Pip, even though you've got your arm amputated. But in another sense, you could say Pip's not the same. He's not the same guy anymore. He's different. Or if someone has plastic surgery on their face, it's like, okay, it's still that person, but they're not them. They're almost like a different person now. And so it's like, is that just is that just like a worldly thing that has no account in the resurrection? Like God doesn't care what we look like, or is that actually an important part of who we are? But I don't know. I don't know. This particular passage has got me thinking: what is it about the heavenly man that those who are of heaven emulate? And it seems to be, in difference to the man of dust, he's from dust. And the man of heaven is from heaven. And so if we're going to be, if we're going to be, what's the word? Psychosomatic, like, psych and body. In the first case, it was body and then psych. And in the second case, it seems to be psych or mind or spirit and then fleshly body.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's just a little question. So maybe
it's a good question.
People who are listening, if you want to email in on that, what do you think? Are we going to get back our flesh or get a type of flesh that's similar, or is it going to be totally different? Is it just going to be our spirit inheriting new flesh? Maybe that's not the sort of thing you want to think about on a Monday morning or whatever whenever you're listening to this.
We have listeners who are eaggerly awaiting our return.
Yes. Well, look, if you have a thought on any of this, email it in, even if it's an out there thought.
At thebibleboys@gmail.com. And that's boys.
With a Z.
With a Z.
Or you can DM us on Insta. Or you can DM us on TikTok. Or or carrier pigeon. Anyway, that's enough from me. James, I want to know, what have you been reading in the Bible this week?
Well, a lot of my time has been spent in the awesome, we did seminars and talks.
Nice.
And so there's been a lot of work that's sort of been there. One of the things I just want to point out in the prep is from Mark chapter 14. And it's a very small but profound observation that I want to make.
Okay.
And some of our listeners are also youth who were there at the camp, so you'll remember this moment where this was pointed out. But one of the things we did in the first seminar was we sort of set up, all right, well, was the cross a surprise? Was it a surprise to God? If God is so smart, God is so all-knowing, then why would he have allowed this travesty to happen? That his son was taken, betrayed, suffered, died. And so we did a reading of Mark 14 and 15. It was quite long. We didn't read all of 14. But there's this curious little verse that shows up in Mark chapter 14. And so let's go from verse 43. Okay, so I'm going to read it from here. Mark 14:43. Just as he was speaking, this is Jesus, Judas, one of the 12, appeared. With him was a crowd armed with swords and clubs, sent from the chief priests, the teachers of the law, and the elders. Now the betrayer had arranged a signal with them. The one I kiss is the man. Arrest him and lead him away under guard. Going at once to Jesus, Judas said, Rabbi, and kissed him. The men seized Jesus and arrested him. Then one of those standing near drew his sword and struck the servant of the high priest, cutting off his ear. Am I leading a rebellion, said Jesus, that you have to come out with swords and clubs to capture me? Every day I was with you, teaching in the temple courts, and you did not arrest me. But the scriptures must be fulfilled. Then everyone deserted him and fled. So you get that little thing there in verse 49, right?
Yes.
Jesus says, am I leading rebellion? You're coming to arrest me. Every day I was with you. You didn't arrest me, but the scriptures must be fulfilled. Jesus says that what is happening here must happen in order to fulfill what the scriptures foretold. And so Jesus, and there's so many other parts we can go to show this, but Jesus certainly wasn't surprised by his arrest and the suffering that he was about to endure. In fact, he says that he is fulfilling what God had already revealed to the prophets of the Old Testament. And so one of the conclusions we formed through, and we did some more stuff with Isaiah 53, and we sort of came to some conclusions, but the big idea of discovery, what we call Discovery Seminar 1, because we wanted the youth to discover this, is that the cross was planned and purposed by God.
Nice. Yes.
And I think that is just such an important point for us to get here, which can be lost on a lot of people, especially if you've grown up in church, is that it's so horrific what Jesus went through. It's so humiliating what he went through. The suffering, the excruciating pain, and just how counter all sense of logic you'd think about in establishing and worshipping and glorifying a king. But his death on the cross, his suffering, was planned and purposed.
Yeah.
So that's the thing I just wanted to draw out, because I was reminded of that. Just preparing for the seminar and delivering the seminar.
Yeah, awesome. Oh, that's so important. And yeah, you see that, and even in the writers, through the rest of the New Testament, you get that. I mean, you get that in Acts. God, who you crucified, but God raised, is all according to God's plan. You get that kind of language in Acts.
Yes.
You get it in Paul's writings. You get it throughout. But yeah, it's so vital that it wasn't just, Jesus walking into a mistake.
Yes.
And and Jesus knowing that it's all foretold, adds gravity, I guess, to his prayer that comes before him in the Garden of Gethsemane when he's kind of like saying, all things are possible for you. Remove this cup from me, yet not what I will, but what you will.
Yes.
It's kind of like, you've got Jesus. It's interesting. Jesus is, let the scriptures be fulfilled.
Yes.
So he's kind of come to terms with, no, this is the path that I have to take.
That's right.
Yeah.
And I think that, and I might have mentioned this, many episodes ago or something. We are pretty consistent with some of the things we bring up here on the Bible Boys. But, if you think about science, part of what happens in science is that empirical observations are made and they go, all right, we've got this physical reality. We have to somehow come up with the language and the mathematical setup to understand what it is that we see in front of us. So the classic example is light, where light we observe, we use it to observe light as a phenomena we see, and then what we currently have in theory is that light, one thing, has two natures, right? A wave nature, how it carries energy, for example, has a wavelength, and a particle nature, how it has mass and momentum. And yet these are two different natures that don't really mix in other things other than light. I'm being very general here. But you can't just say, oh, that's stupid, I don't need to listen to that, because there's this physical reality and we're trying to understand it. I think that the cross, this physical reality, is where we see human responsibility and God's plan from before the foundation of the world come together. And a lot of times when we try to talk about how does God's sovereignty and human responsibility work together, for a lot of people they can be like, whatever, I don't want to think about this anymore, it doesn't matter, it's not real, as if they can just throw it off. But no, there's this physical reality exemplified and embodied by the cross of Jesus, where it all comes together. And at the cross we see the victory of God and the death of God. And at the cross we see the love of God and the judgment of God. At the cross we see all these things coming together, right? We see the lowest point of man and God and the highest point of man and God brought together. So I think it's just at the cross we see all these things come together. And I think that we can do a better job of showing that to people, to say these paradoxes of Christianity, not contradictions, paradoxes, that they're not abstract theories that we're out there. They're all attempts for us to understand what it means that Jesus, the God-man, gave himself for us, for our sins at the cross. 1,989 years ago.
Round up to 2,000.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
I just feel like this is just one of those examples. It just comes there, and we can say what we want about our inability to explain it or draw a diagram, but just like wave particle duality, it's there.
Yeah, that's right. And it's like the gospel is simple enough, to comprehend on a basic level, be saved. But there's so much there that you can just meditate on, think about, puzzle over for your whole life, really.
Yes.
And paradoxes like that. That's really kind of Yes.
And the thing on that just reminded me is, I forgot which author did it, but there's this guy who wrote like a huge 800, page book or something on God's love and exploring all the complexities of it and all the nuances. And then in his conclusion, he wrote, so what is it that I've found after all of this research and all of this delving into the biblical data? Well, this is what I found. Jesus loves me, this I know, for the Bible tells me so. And I just love that. There's so much we can explore. There's so much depth. There's so much richness. And yet the gospel message we can communicate simply, powerfully, concisely. And it's something that even a child can believe and enter the kingdom of God.
Yeah.
There you go. Huge. All right, well, it's time for us to do Guess Who.
Okay.
And before we get to that, I have a correction I need to make. So the very last episode of last season, Guess Who character was, do you remember, Pip?
Oh, yeah, Nicodemus. It was someone.
That's okay, you don't need to guess this one yet. Caleb. And
oh, yeah.
one of your questions was he a leader? And I said, no, I don't think so. But that's not true. Caleb was a leader.
Yes.
He was a leader of his tribe.
Right.
So I'm sorry, listeners, for misleading you.
Well,
And Pip, I'm sorry for misleading you.
I still got it.
That's true. So you're happy in that sense.
I'm happy.
Great.
I still got it.
Awesome. Alrighty then. So, we have had an email come through with some Guess Who suggestions. Now, I don't think I can read this email because it's got the suggestions. But yeah, Pip, you're going to be guessing today.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, listeners, for sending some emails through with some suggestions. I'm going to be going with one of these suggestions, but please email us any Guess Who suggestions to the Bible Boys with a Z at gmail.com. What's that email again, Pip?
Bible Boys.
No,
That's the first time I got it wrong. The Bible Boys with a Z at gmail.com.
That's it.
Yes. You know what? I'm ashamed to say this, but as I read through the Bible now, part of my mental exercise is thinking, which of these characters could I use in a Guess Who?
That's not shameful. It's good. You're thinking about how much data do I need to know about this person?
Yeah, that's right.
All right. So,
okay, but we're good to go.
I think we're good to go.
All right. 20 questions, and I'll try not to dilly-dally this time.
All right.
Okay?
Let's do it.
First question. Does this person's name appear in the New Testament?
I don't think so.
Ooh. Oh, okay. Interesting. Okay. Is this person a male?
No.
Oh, it's a female. Oh, okay. Ooh, yeah. Does
I love that when you do Guess Who, you've got all these sound effects that go with it.
Just to fill in. Does this person appear in the Torah, the first 5 books?
No.
Oh, interesting. Does this person appear post-exile?
No.
Oh, okay. Does this person... So that's 5.
5?
5, yep. We'll go 5.
I think it's 5, yes.
Does this person... is this person an Israelite?
No.
Okay. Yes. I think I'm onto it. Although it wouldn't make sense. But, okay, anyway. No, maybe I'm not onto it. Okay. Does this person appear in the period of the kings can I say that? In the period of the kings kingdom split.
In the period of the kings,
yes.
Pre-kingdom split.
So between like Saul and Jeroboam, kind of Rehoboam.
No. 7.
Does this person appear pre-Saul?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
I'm counting now. 8.
Okay. Pre-Saul. Not in the Torah. Okay. Interesting.
Are you playing along with this?
And not an Israelite. Okay. Does this person appear in the book of Joshua?
No.
Oh, because I was thinking... can I talk?
Yeah,
I was thinking
course.
Rahab the prostitute, but is that Joshua? Or... because that would be, right? Entering the land? Yes, you'd think so. No. Does this person... yes. And not an Israelite. That's interesting. Because I was going to ask, does this person appear in the book of Ruth? That's a question. Does this person appear in the book of Ruth?
No.
10. That's 10 questions.
10 questions, listeners.
Okay. Ruth. So it must be 1 and 2 Samuel. In that case. Probably 1 Samuel. That's... Or have I dug myself into a hole in which I cannot get out? This is an interesting question. Who are the girls in 1 Samuel? What do you think? Okay. So she doesn't appear in the Torah, not in the 5 first books. Doesn't even appear in the 6th book, Joshua. Doesn't even appear in the 7th book, Ruth. Unless I've got my books wrong. It must be in 1 or 2 Samuel, if she doesn't appear in the period of the kings. But could she appear in the prophets? Have I said that before? Let me just cover that one off. Does she appear post-kingdom split?
No.
Okay.
11.
So I'm thinking
9 questions left.
I'm thinking 1 or 2 Samuel. 1 or 2 Samuel. Who were the girls? Who was Deborah again? Is she a person? Oh, maybe I should go for it. Who is Deborah? I'm just trying to remember. Deborah was a person. Who is Deborah? Is it Deborah?
No.
Oh, no.
8 questions left.
Okay, so it wasn't Deborah. But I'm thinking 1, 2 Samuel. Okay. And it's not in the New Testament. Her name does not appear in the New Testament. Unless she isn't named. Oh my goodness. Is she present in the New Testament?
No.
Oh, okay. So I'm back to 1, 2 Samuel now.
7 questions left.
7
You've answered.
questions.
You've done 13.
So it wasn't like the woman at the well or something like in John, you know. I'm thinking 1 and 2 Samuel. Okay, who are some of the girls in 1 and 2 Samuel? Maybe it's 2. Oh, I don't even know if I'm on the right track, to be honest.
This is another Guess Who Q&A brought to
Yes.
you by Biff Woodridge.
Does this person appear in 1 Samuel?
No.
Does this person appear in 2 Samuel?
No.
Oh my goodness.
15 questions.
Oh my
5
goodness,
left.
5 left. So now, okay, I've used the word name appear, which could be an issue. Does this person's name appear? Not a male. And it is a person though. Is this person a female? That's a question.
Yes.
Okay, good. Because it could have been like an angel or something.
Yes.
So now I've got 4 questions left.
4 questions.
So it's a girl. I'm thinking Old Testament. It's not in any of the books that I've said.
You want a clue?
No.
Okay, no clue.
A girl who doesn't appear in the Bible.
Wait, what? This is Bible Guess Who?
Because I've kind of covered off the whole thing, haven't I? So her name doesn't appear in the New Testament. She doesn't appear herself in the New Testament. She doesn't appear post kingdom split. She doesn't appear pre kingdom split.
Okay, after this, we need to talk about easier ways to narrow things down.
Yes.
I think you made things very complicated for you.
Maybe not. Does she appear?
I think you're going to get it, my friend. I think you're going to get it.
You reckon?
I think you'll get it. I have great faith in you.
I've got 4 questions. Does she appear in the prophets?
No.
Okay, so it's not like
17.
It's not like the lady of Proverbs 31 or something like that. 3 questions. A woman. She doesn't appear in the Torah, not in the first 5 books. Interesting. A woman who doesn't appear in the New Testament. That's it. Oh, look, it's all interesting.
Not
in 1 Samuel, not
I
2
gotta say,
Samuel.
I've been watching more of The Office.
Yes.
You have so much Michael Scott vibes. I'm watching this guy and I'm like, this is where Pip got so much from.
What am I missing? 1 and 2 Samuel, 1 and 2 Kings. So it's not 1 and 2 Kings, it's not 1 and 2 Samuel, it has to be before. What comes before 1 Samuel? Have I got it wrong in thinking that it's... Does this person appear in... I'm not even going to ask that question. I'm just going to assume she's in the Judges. I don't know if I've covered that off. Okay. Because when was Elijah?
3 questions left, my friend.
Yes. Is this person Jezebel?
No.
That's someone else, isn't it?
18.
Judges.
2 questions left.
Not Deborah, not. But who is it? Who is another judge?
Can I record?
I think I got it.
Go.
Is this Delilah?
Yes! Pip's doing a lap in the room right now.
Yes. I thought I was lost, but I have been found. Yes. How did I forget the judges?
That's the thing you missed. You also forgot that you asked, is this person an Israelite? And the answer was no.
Yes. Oh, that's true.
That's
that would have really narrowed it down.
That's right. So, that's right. So, yes, so Jezebel is in Kings. Yeah. So, yes, Judges, you forgot. Forgot the book of Judges.
I like to leave it late. I like to leave it late.
You do like bringing it up to like the last 3 questions.
Delilah.
Where you just get zapped by the Holy Spirit.
Yeah, that's right. It's the Holy Spirit being like, come on.
You can do
This
it.
is too long a segment. by
Okay,
this
so
point.
can I tell you the episode? So again, I'm watching The Office
Yeah,
now,
yeah,
and
yeah.
season 2 is so much better than season 1.
Yeah, it gets a lot better.
Yeah.
Season 3, season 4.
Yeah.
Oh.
So I'm 12 episodes into season 2, but in season 1, there was that episode where he's like, "I've got a surprise for everybody." And I'm like, and it's like, well, what's the surprise? And then he's like, "Now I will share the surprise." And he just goes on for a minute and a half. It's like,
Drum roll.
it's like, everybody, we need to get the drum roll. Who's ready for the surprise? And then nothing comes.
Yes.
And I'm like, man, that is Pip.
That's me playing Guess Who.
No, but you actually come through in the end.
Yeah.
It's so funny.
That's so true. Oh, man.
When did you watch The Office? Or is it when you were in high school you watched it?
Yeah, in high school, and a couple of
Okay.
times since then as well.
Yes. So, because I'm just wanting to say, I'm season 1 and 12 episodes into season 2 in. Yeah, I think this has been very formative.
Yeah, no. Yeah, no. The Office, very formative. Seinfeld, very formative. Yeah.
I can see this.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I
am enjoying The Office season 2.
That's good.
Yes, and I hope to enjoy it more.
Yeah.
It's characters. I think I'm getting to know the characters. It's quite endearing.
I watched this thing on Netflix called Seaspiracy. Have you heard of this? Seaspiracy?
I have. And please tell me about it. I've been wanting to watch it.
So apparently the sea doesn't exist.
What?
No, I'm just joking. That's not what it's about.
Wait,
it's about
what?
it's about veganism and
okay.
No, but Seaspiracy. You'd think that could be what it's about, but it's not. Just like it says, made by the same guy who made Cowspiracy, I think.
Right.
And I went into that thinking, I know cows exist, so what is this going to be about?
Sure.
And it's about pollution and sustainability, environmentalism. The argument of it is the things that we choose to wage war on, things like plastic straws, replace with paper straws, things like household
Is
waste.
this in Seaspiracy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Seaspiracy. The things that we choose to wage war on really account for a very small proportion of pollution that ends up in the oceans. The vast majority of pollution is actually due to commercial fishing and plastic nets, which are cheap to produce, but when they're lost frequently in the ocean, they have devastating effects on marine wildlife. And so the argument is we need to stop fishing. We ultimately need to stop fishing. How do we do that? Well, we need to stop eating fish. And then he goes into all these arguments for what are some other good reasons to stop eating fish. But not just fish. He then goes into what are some good arguments to stop eating animals altogether. And basically he makes the case for veganism as an environmental sustainability thing.
Yeah.
And it got me thinking about veganism. I've seen those synthetic meat substitutes in the Coles and Woolies. If they tasted as good as meat, and if they were cheaper or the same price, I reckon I think at that point there's no good argument against veganism. I reckon this is my prophecy, Pip's prophecy of the day.
Pip's prophecy of the day.
New segment, Pip's prophecy. In 10 years' time, okay, so in 2031, it will be socially unacceptable to not be a vegan. That's my prediction.
There you go.
And you know what? I don't mind that. I reckon I could, the amount of mee goreng I eat at the moment, I am basically a vegan.
Listeners, check in season 66.
Season 66, seriously, it's going to be a thing, right? And people are going to be rewinding back to this episode. They're going to be saying, oh my goodness.
Yes.
Anyway, that's my little thing. And now I've also been watching F1 Drive to Survive.
Yes.
Formula One.
A few people here at church have been watching that.
Yeah. Now, I don't think I'd ever watch a full race, but just the Netflix highlight package and some commentary and some of the drama. It's a really good way to watch Formula One.
There you go.
If Sam Russell ever hears that, he'll turn in his chair. He'll be quite offended by that.
That's right. Well, we got back from Awesome. Sunday afternoon.
Mm.
We're all so tired. Sam, though, he stayed up watching F1
There you go.
until 1 a.m.
F1.
There you go.
F1, lots of fun.
F1, lots of fun. That's right. We've been off for about a month now. So
Yes.
how are you and Self going?
We're going good. We are studying hard. We're hitting the books. We've been enjoying Parramatta, the river, enjoying some of the cafes and restaurants.
Did you see it overflowing when it
No.
was raining crazily last month?
No, I didn't. We didn't go down and have a look.
Ah, okay, gotcha.
More out of fear than anything. We didn't want it to like
Yes.
wash us away. But
Because you're a bit like a cat, Pip.
Yes.
Like if you got wet, you're just not happy.
that's right.
That's right.
Yeah, I cannot deal. Even a little bit of rain,
Yes.
I hate it. Some people,
Yeah.
it's raining a little bit, they'll
Yes.
walk through it.
Yes.
Not me.
Well, I think we talked about this once. Like you'll run through, Self will like slowly walk through the rain.
Yeah.
So enjoying Parramatta. Do you have any good restaurants that you found in Parramatta?
Well, here's my little theory. There's a cafe called the Black Seed Eatery, and it's kind of like a corporate cafe. It's like it's in the business. It's underneath some offices and stuff like that.
Yeah,
and
sure.
It caters to kind of people who are in suits all the time in there and stuff like that. My theory is those cafes are actually a lot better than like hipster cafes or like kind of like little homely kind of cafes.
Yeah, right.
Because they're the people who are having coffee like 2 or 3 times a day.
Right.
They can really tell the difference.
Yes.
And so generally it's a bit better.
There you go. That's a good theory.
That's my little theory.
Yeah. I think that it's really interesting. So, Sam, your trainer, one of the ministers here at St. Paul's, he makes really good coffee, right? And I don't know why I thought this, but I always thought it was, just it's the beans, it's the milk, that sort of thing. Anyway, same beans, same milk, someone else who shall not be named was making coffee and I drank it and I went,
It was not as good.
it was not as good. And I went, you know what? That's very sad. Very, very sad. But then I was talking to Sam about it and he goes, yeah, that's because, like 25% of it is the beans, 25% of it is the milk, 50% of it is the skill, or whatever the percentages he gave me, but most of it is the skill of the barista. And even the best coffee machine in the world, the best beans, if the barista doesn't know what they're doing, it's not going to taste good.
Yeah.
So hipster cafes, I feel like a lot of people, it's the vibe, it's the mood, it's the low dim lighting, it's the the flannel shirt of the barista, but then whether or not it tastes very good, questionable.
Yeah.
There you go.
Hey, this is just a little extra.
Go.
This is just the perfect way to make an instant coffee that's basically cafe quality.
Can I say, by the way, just before you continue, so there's a friend of mine who's recently started listening to the Bible Boyz, and he told me he never listens to podcasts. But he has binged like all of our episodes in the last month, and he's shared with like many people, and I think he's gotten like 3 or 4 people to start listening.
Oh my goodness.
Just by himself over the last 3 weeks.
That's amazing.
So, and sorry, the reason why this is brought up is because he said, I would love to try one of Pip's instant coffees.
All right. Well, you're ready for this. This is if you feel a bit special, but not special enough to dish out $3 for coffee. This is what you do.
Right, go.
You get a mug of milk.
A mug of milk.
A mug of
Step
milk.
1.
Full cream milk.
Okay.
Okay.
Does it matter which brand?
No, cold brand's fine. Put that in the microwave for 1.5 minutes. 1.5 minutes. That's 90 seconds. Full power. And then what you do is you take that out. You get Moccona.
So it's got to be Moccona.
Moccona is the best instant coffee, but it'll probably work with anything. But you get that. You add that 1 teaspoon.
Yes.
You just drop it into the milk. You get another teaspoon. 2 teaspoons. Drop it in.
2 teaspoons.
Yep. And then you mix it in. You mix it in real good to that hot milk. So it's all milk, no water. And you're mixing in the coffee. And then what you do is you get the milk bottle.
Yes.
All right. That's at least like down to 3/4 by now. You shake it.
Oh, okay.
You shake up. You get a bit of foam going on, and you just pour a little touch of foam onto the top of it.
Yes.
There you go.
No water.
No water.
And that is a really good instant coffee.
It's really good. If you want it to be a little bit sweeter, you can add in a little bit of sugar.
There you go. Do you stir it?
What, the coffee?
Yeah.
Yeah, you got to. So
it wasn't in your steps.
No. But what you got to do is you don't want to be rough with the coffee.
Oh, don't be rough.
You want to drop it into the milk so
Okay.
it dissolves. You want as much dissolving as possible.
Okay.
Dissolving actually maintains the flavor better.
Well, that makes sense.
Anyway. And then you mix it a little bit. Don't mix too. It's this is something special. Right?
Wow, there you go. So listeners, why don't you try the instant...
Yes.
Pips instant coffee.
This is a pet peeve of mine.
Okay, go.
If someone says, can I make you an instant coffee? And I said, yes. A pet peeve is they get a big mug, and they fill it way I'm drinking 500 mils of something, and it's got 1 teaspoon of coffee in it. I'm like, look, an instant coffee it should be half a cup. Right? It shouldn't be a full cup of watery liquid. It should be half a cup. It should be concentrated a bit on the stronger side.
Okay.
It should have a good amount of milk.
Yes.
So it's not just watery.
Yes.
It should be creamy.
Yes.
An instant coffee.
The one true living God, the source of all good things,
yes,
the one who gives us all good things, has designed the world a particular way.
Yeah.
And when he sees rebellious creatures like us going in and trying to mix things up a bit, do our own thing, causes pain and sadness.
Yes.
Not in quite the same way as humans, but analogous to you, how you feel when people butcher instant coffee.
Yes.
What do you say about that?
This is what I say. Is it analogous or analogous? Because I've been saying analogous. Is it?
I'm not sure. I think it's analogous.
You have an analogy.
Yes.
You have an analog clock. Who knows?
I'm sure there's a right answer. I don't know if I'm going to search up what the right answer is.
No, I don't think anyone will. Anyway, look, this is definitely, you get to this point, this is the dregs of the coffee
That's
cup.
right. Of the Bible book.
That's it.
Hey, actually, I wanna, oh no, it doesn't work with Siri. Alright, never mind. With my Google Home Mini, I was going, hey Google, play King of Kings, on Spotify. And then it says, ding, okay, playing Lord of Lords by, and I was like, that's not what I said, but spot on.
King of King, Lord of Lords.
That's right.
Spotify gets it.
Spotify gets it. That's it. Alright, I think we gotta leave it there.
Yeah. I said to my Google Home, I said, could you play some Beatles? I said, I don't have a Google Home. I was talking to my calculator.
What response did you get?
Nothing.
No, there you go.
Anyway, that's enough of today.
That's it. Listeners, thank you so much for joining us. This is the gold that you've been missing for the last month. Thank you so much for listening. We hope that this podcast is encouraging for you, an easy listen, something that you can share with your family and friends while they're on their commute to work, maybe spitting out some spreadsheets at work, maybe drawing, whatever it may be.
Yeah. Maybe you're on Excel and you're thinking, how might I excel my brain today?
And my spiritual life.
Maybe you're on PowerPoint and you'll think, what are the powerful points of scripture that I'll want to hear today?
Maybe you're on Microsoft Word and
that's
thinking,
too easy.
You know what? I need to get into the word.
That's way too easy.
That's right. Maybe you're typing some notes on EndNote and you're going, what is the chief end of humanity? It's to glorify God and enjoy Him forever.
Maybe you're on Microsoft Teams and you're like, man, the 12 disciples, that was a great team.
Except for that one bad egg. Maybe you're on Microsoft Outlook and you're going, you know what? What's the outlook for my future?
Yes.
It's the resurrection help found in Jesus
that's
Christ.
Right. That's right. Maybe you're on looking up Bill Gates and you're and you're like, I wonder what the gates of heaven are like. Anyway, enough of this rambling. I hope to see you next week and have a great week.
Thanks everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye.